All right, everybody, it's time to wake up America. That's right, this is Thejazmiles, and sitting next to me is my man Rick Donovan. What's up, Rick?
Oh man, that last episode was great, you know?
Oh, yeah, oh my goodness. So, as far as the last episode goes, that was Narrative Shift, episode 1. There's actually 2 episodes to the Narrative Shift, maybe 3 when it all plays out.
Yeah.
The original one, though, was about a little leaking, lying Adam Schiff.
Yeah.
And it was the setup to the Pelosi power play, which we're going to talk about. And you also wanted to bring somebody else into the conversation.
Yeah, Romney, man, Mitt Romney.
Mitt Romney,
man, and his connection to Ukraine.
President Trump fired off a series of tweets blasting the Utah senator, including this: "He is a fool who is playing right into the hands of the do-nothing Democrats. Hashtag impeach Mitt Romney." Romney's offense? Calling Trump out for this comment Thursday. China should start an investigation into the Bidens. Romney had tweeted, "The president's brazen and unprecedented appeal to China and to Ukraine to investigate Joe Biden is wrong and appalling." He's the first Republican senator to criticize Trump's conduct directly. Last night, Susan Collins of Maine cautiously joined Romney. Collins, who faces a tough re-election fight, called the president's appeal to China completely inappropriate, but wouldn't say whether Trump was out of line pressuring Ukraine to investigate the Bidens.
I would be acting as a juror, as I did in the Clinton impeachment trial. So I don't want to prejudge the evidence. Plus, not all the evidence is in yet.
You know, I'll tell you something. There's this deep state, man, involves. I'm starting to believe, Jazz. It's both parties, the Republicans and.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, those Republicans I'm talking about are rhinos, not the real Republicans. You know, who really respect the party and are
the principles of it, right,
yes.
right.
But you know, we found out that there's a guy named Jay Coffer Black
of Donald Trump. This failed candidate actually seems to support the impeachment inquiry going on right now in the House. He claims to be very worried about what Trump might have done. Shouldn't he be thanking Trump for saving the GOP from Hillary Clinton? Otherwise, Romney wouldn't be a senator right about now. Yet as Romney dances for the liberal media, a connection came out that he might not like. Maybe he'll think twice about going after Trump. From Ohio, Senator Mitt Romney may have a connection to Joe Biden's alleged corruption scandal in Ukraine. According to a report released on Thursday, Romney's top aide in the 2012 presidential campaign, Jay Coffer Black, has served on the board of Ukrainian energy company Thejazmiles Holdings since 2017. Romney, care to explain your connection with the very same Ukrainian company Hunter Biden worked for? You're so quick to condemn Trump over a simple phone call. Perhaps it's because you're buddies with a man that worked with Biden's son. Connections like this are crucial. This isn't some long-lost cousin. This is a top aide that worked for Romney's failed presidential campaign. Someone Romney most likely had dinners with, strategized with, and worked with frequently. This is a colleague and perhaps a friend. And now we know since 2017 he's been working for the same company that was paying Hunter Biden $50,000 a month. That's not a great connection, Mitt. Maybe, instead of turning on the man making America great again, you explain just what your connections with Ukraine are. Could be nothing, could be something. Regardless, I doubt he'll be quick to explain himself.
And guess what? He sits on the board of Burisma. 2017, he was put on the board of Burisma.
And he's connected to Mitt Romney's.
And he's connected to Mitt Romney, you know.
His presidential run in 2012 against Barack.
Yeah, he was his presidential advisor, you know.
Against Barack Obama.
Yes.
So, now, is the Mitt Romney part we're going to get back to on that, but when you bring it up to me, I was thinking some other things off camera. So, Hillary gave Russia the computers, as we talk about the Russian reset.
Yep.
That's why I committed to resetting the relationship between our two nations.
We want to reset our relationship.
Let's do it together.
Russia, together with China, has vetoed the United Nations Security Council resolution on Syria, it's the third time in 9 months.
When you consider that at least one of these members continues to deliver weapons to Assad.
Iran has dismissed a new report by the UN's atomic watchdog which claims it's developing nuclear weapons. His sentiments seem at least to be partially shared by Russia, which has ruled out supporting fresh sanctions.
Russia says it will launch Iran's first nuclear power plant next week.
The Obama administration is now officially complaining to Moscow about a pattern of harassment.
There's been a number of incidents since his arrival there that have caused us to have some concerns about his security and safety.
The last 3 years of my work with President Medvedev has been extremely productive. Please disperse! Nothing to see here, please!
The Russian reset?
That was prior to that election.
I think that was episode 5.
Right, but that was prior to the Mitt Romney election against Barack Obama.
Correct.
Which was just around the time when Barack said,
This is my last election for you. Yeah. After my election, I have more flexibility.
I transmit this information to Vladimir and my family.
Republican presidential contender Mitt Romney said the overheard remarks signaled that the president plans to cave to Russia on missile defense.
That is an alarming and troubling development. This is no time for our president to be pulling his punches with the American people.
tell Putin that I'll have more flexibility when I'm reelected. Mm-hmm. So they gave Russia or whoever computers to lock up the election. Mitt took the loss like a puppy dog.
And there we go with the Russians involved in our elections. Well, they never would have been if it wasn't for Hillary doing the Russian reset.
Yeah, exactly.
Come on now,
exactly.
people, wake up, you know?
Right. So how did they become our biggest enemy since then? But you were saying more about Mitt Romney and this guy being connected with Burisma, the gas company.
Yep, yeah. His name is Jay Coffer Black. And like I said, he was the presidential advisor or director for Mitt Romney in 2012. Now he's been sitting on the board of Burisma since 2017. It's just funny, you know, like, and then we got, at the same time, 2012 was when Biden, where you going with that gun in your hand there?
Yeah, hey Joe.
Hey,
a lot of
Joe.
people responded positively to that video that we put out. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So, hey Joe, where you going?
Well, he actually put a gun to President Zelensky's head, say, hey, listen.
I said, I'm telling you, you're not getting $1 billion. I said, you're not getting $1 billion. I'm going to be leaving here. And I think it was, 6 hours? I looked, I said, I'm leaving in 6 hours. If the prosecutor's not fired, you're not getting the money. Oh, son of a got fired. And they put in place someone who was solid at the time.
Well, it just so happens that the general prosecutor was investigating an energy firm in which Joe Biden's son, Hunter Biden, was heavily invested. Burisma Holdings is an energy corporation in Ukraine, and Hunter Biden, the son of the former vice president, has made a rather handsome profit from it, especially in the aftermath of the 2014 events in Ukraine in which pro-EU forces took power. That prosecutor was looking into 3 different instances of foul play from Hunter's cash cow. However, all it took was a phone call from Papa Joe, and that prosecutor was out.
We had plans that included interrogations and other crime investigation procedures into all members of the executive board, including Hunter Biden.
Members of the board obtained funds as well as another US-based legal entity, Rosemont Seneca Partners, LLC, for consulting services.
One might argue that perhaps Joe Biden had no idea about his son's financial interests. They say he's the vice president. Perhaps he was too busy running the country to pay attention to his son's finances. However, if he watched any American media, he couldn't have missed it. back during the Ukraine events of 2014, the White House dismissed any notion that Hunter Biden's financial dealings had any impact on their decisions.
I'm wondering if the State Department has any concerns or any thoughts about the Vice President's son joining the board of directors of this Ukrainian gas company.
No, he's a private citizen.
So, as reels and reels of video show that Joe Biden has some pretty strange proclivities, and more women come forward saying they do not appreciate his affection, at this point it's pretty clear that Joe has some even stranger skeletons in his closet that he would like to keep buried.
Okay. Well, back to Mitt Romney. You know, no wonder he's going after Trump now. He's jumping to the Dem side, you know, because he never really was a Republican to begin with. You know, and maybe it has something to do with his religion too. I don't know. I think about it.
Oh, the Mormon?
Yeah, because...
Well, that part I don't know, but here's the interesting thing I do know. Currently, we are the leading producer of our own natural energy throughout the world. We're producing our own natural gas, our own gasoline, that kind of thing, which means we don't no longer need Saudi Arabia, et cetera, et cetera.
Don't need any of them.
Okay, so when Barack Obama was in office, fracking, and a lot of part of the conversation was fracking and digging our own oil offshore drilling and fracking.
Million acres. That's like the size of Spain practically. And then that's just part of it. The other bit is the 4 million off the eastern seaboard. It takes you from New England down to around where I am in the Chesapeake Bay area. So it's a large swath of land and water that's now going to be under this ban from any kind of oil exploration, and the White House thinks it's permanent.
This was very divisive on social media yesterday. We did see the oil and gas lobby say not for long, but why are advocacy groups so optimistic that a President Trump will not be able to reverse course here?
Well, those advocacy groups help to convince the White House in particular, which we heard from administration officials yesterday. They are very confident that it is going to be very difficult to try to reverse the order in some way, like unwithdraw. It was the term they used from this ban. So this goes back to a really obscure law from 1953 called the Outer Continental Shelf Act. So it's been used before, but never to institute a permanent ban. The White House thinks that if the Republican-controlled Congress does try to reverse the order, that this could end up in the courts. It would be a long, very costly litigation. But frankly, Josh, if you look just at the numbers, as something Donald Trump says he likes to do, it doesn't make a lot of financial sense at this moment to even try to drill in the Arctic because the price of oil is so low. There's really no incentive to do that. You probably have to see the price of oil triple to have it make any financial sense to go out. I mean, there isn't a lot of drilling in the Arctic right now for the United States.
Sarah Palin was talking about it during the election run, you know, even with McCain, and then with Mitt Romney, they were talking about it. So Barack Obama and a lot of Democrats made it seem like it was a climate control situation as to why we couldn't dig on our own soil.
Also, they were talking about the water table being contaminated.
Okay, but beyond that, as we find out now with Burisma, so the Ukraine has so much excess gas available, while Barack, Hillary, Joe Biden, John Kerry, all of our politicians, Mitt Romney, we see now how they benefited from Burisma.
They all did.
Okay, so why didn't they want us to sell our own gas, do I wonder?
Yeah, they're making money, dude.
If Donald Trump is in office now, and we're the #1 producer of energy, we could have, understand this.
Yeah.
We could have been doing this.
Right.
The same greedy people that benefited from Ukraine's gas stopped us from doing our own drilling, offshore drilling or natural shale, coal, anything you want to call it.
And that's the reason they were making big money. That's
Exactly.
why they won. Now, all that would have lowered our gas prices.
Exactly.
But you even know here in New York State, you
Wait,
know.
but would have lowered our gas prices at a time of a recession.
Right.
From 2008 to 2012 up until President Donald Trump got in office.
Yeah.
So they could have actually helped us out, maybe not have to bail out so many companies. And now that we're producing our own fuel, we don't need to be overseas fighting any wars or protecting any oil wells overseas.
Correct.
This is something that the Bushes could have did, being Texas oilmen, but they made so much money off of oil, they didn't want to not be overseas.
And look at all the soldiers that came back, you know, with amputated limbs and all that, you know.
Exactly.
Hey,
Well,
I just want to say it's something to people out there. If you're going to support anything, support the Wounded Warriors Project.
got the armed services here, right, too, the United States Army. You know, so Veterans Day is coming up in just a few weeks from now in November. You don't have to wait till then to help a veteran. Always reach out to one.
Yeah, Wounded Warriors Project.
And I just want to say one other thing about the Mitt Romney, the gas, the Ukraine, etc. So we heard a lot about climate and this, that, and the third, climate control, and why not to do it in our own land, etc., right? So my brother watches a lot of Discovery Channel, and on Discovery Channel, they show these guys out there digging in the middle of Alaska and other places, digging up gold, digging up diamonds, all types of artifacts. They're in the bottom of the ocean digging for things. How come that's not brought up with these climate control freaks?
I don't know.
You mean to tell me them out there with all that equipment digging up in the middle of Alaska and other places don't affect the climate in some capacity?
Well, it sure does. And all the sand that they need to make cement
Brother
around the
Bo.
world.
What's the name of that show that they be digging up the gold on and all that kind of stuff on Discovery?
Gold Rush.
Oh, Gold Rush? Yeah, and they just be digging up the land.
Yeah.
That doesn't affect the climate? No one's out there protesting them?
No.
It just shows you the bullshit, as the president said, bullshit.
How many acres are I watched that program, and how many acres did they just tear up and all the trees are gone,
Right.
you know?
But now that this 16-year-old girl is telling you how to live, Rick Donovan, now you have to watch that show differently.
Yeah, Greta
Thunberg. But
yes.
where should she be? HARP? Okay, go to HARP. Go to the chemtrails. Go to where they're digging up all these diamonds and gold and stuff in Alaska.
They raise all the trees. They knock all the trees down in the way.
Oh, and they're knocking down trees just to get to it.
And
So
don't forget that little girl should be running after China, the Chicans. They're the ones from their ships that are dumping all the plastic in the ocean. And like there's a massive like floating island of plastic up in the northwest part of our ocean, in the Pacific Ocean, off the coast of Alaska and Washington, floating around in there somewhere. And it's huge. It's gigantic. Who's doing it? The Chicans. You know?
all right, so we're going to do a quick little shift here. We'll be back in about 30 seconds or so on the program. Enjoy this coming up.
You got the video.
Sports Blast fans, this is Thejazmiles. We're here at Chick-fil-A in Cheektowaga on Walden Avenue, and we have the owner here with us.
Hello, I'm Cassandra Sheedy, the owner of Cheektowaga Chick-fil-A. Thanks for coming and hanging out with us today.
You come down and get a photo or a video with the cow. The orders are coming out fast and furious. It's a great atmosphere down here. Check back with Sports Blast TV for more, and check them out on Facebook. Come see them all weekend.
Eat more chicken.
What's going on now is the single greatest scam in the history of American politics. The Democrats want to take away your guns. They want to take away your health care. They want to take away your vote. They want to take away your freedom. They want to take away your judges. They want to take away everything. We can never let this happen. We're fighting to drain the swamp, and that's exactly what I'm doing. And you see why we have to do it. Because our country is at stake like never before. It's all very simple. They're trying to stop me because I'm fighting for you, and I'll never let that happen.
Viewers, we're back taking care of some things on the side of the scenes. This is Thejazmiles, Rick Donovan. When he's on Facebook, it's Rock.
The Rock. That's what they called me when I was younger.
That's all right, brother.
I was
We're getting
Rock
it in.
Before the Rock.
Yeah,
hey,
we're
can you
getting
smell what the Rock is cooking? I'd like to meet him one day.
I smell something. Maybe the roll-on rolled off. I don't know. But speaking of roll-on rolled off and arms, well, Pencil Neck Shift is up to his neck in an arms deal.
Are you running for Congress? A little short on cash
Short on donations? No need to worry. Now you too can finance your entire campaign through Ukrainian arms dealers. Igor Pasternak, for example, will even host the fundraising events in his $2 million Washington, D.C. brownstone, just one of a few that he owns in the United States. And Igor will even provide the catering and valet parking as well, free of charge. And the best part, here's the best part. You never have to worry about paying Igor back for any of these favors, because it's all absolutely free. No strings attached. After all, everyone knows Ukrainian arms dealers float the election campaigns of congressional candidates like Adam Schiff, Nancy Pelosi, and Loretta Sanchez because, well, they're just so cuddly and lovable. No strings attached, really. In 2013, Igor, Adam Schiff, and Nancy Pelosi used Igor's luxury home in Washington, D.C. to host 2 different fundraisers for Schiff's congressional election, asking for contributions between $1,000 and $2,500. But there's more. Listen to this. Notes from the desk of Yaroslav Brzyuk, the Ukrainian charge d'affaires in Washington, D.C., suggests that Alexandra Chalupa, the former DNC contractor, could be a long-term Ukrainian intelligence asset. Chalupa held multiple intelligence briefing and debriefing sessions regarding President Trump with Oksana Shulyar and other Ukrainian embassy staff. Since 2017, Chalupa has organized, coordinated, and participated in dozens of anti-Trump impeachment events, rallies, demonstrations, and marches. And Obama's Secretary of State, John Kerry, and his Vice President, Joe Biden, are connected to the DNC operative Alexandra Chalupa. Chalupa is also connected to the Steele dossier, as well as Ukrainians and Democrat leaders.
Yep.
He's caught up with some Ukrainian guy, Igor or something you were saying off camera.
It was...
he's an arms dealer.
Like $2 million he made, I believe, was under that deal. So here we go, and if we go look back a little bit to like the last episode of that, we seen El Chapo, Nancy Pelosi, Beto O'Rourke.
That's your boy, Beto.
Yeah, Beto, you idiot.
Just say no to Beto.
And the president of Mexico. Oh, come on, I mean, that was not Photoshop. That was true, and it's like, hey, people, wake up, the Democratic Party, man, their mission is to destroy the Constitution, take
open
our
borders,
guns, and enslave us.
Open borders.
And sooner or later, yes, with open borders, and sooner or later, we'll have cameras in every corner like China, with face recognition cameras.
Giving you your social score.
Everything. I mean, come on.
Well, in China with those cameras, I know you were talking to somebody else off camera about that, and that's basically also what they use. They use it to recognize you, and they evaluate you and give you your social score, like your credit score. Yeah. Your credit score is based upon what you do out in the streets and the deeds you're doing. You know what I'm saying?
That is just.
So Adam Schiff, though, in Ukraine. So this is why they don't want the president talking about Ukraine, being involved with the new leadership in Ukraine, and they're trying to dispel everything that's been said about the old prosecutor, the one that they said that they got rid of because he wasn't doing his job. So Adam Schiff is over there dealing arms with someone who brought arms to ISIS during the Obama administration. This guy's taking arms to Iraq and Syria. Mm-hmm. So he's helping the opposition through Obama and the Democratic Party, taking weapons to ISIS, along with John McCain, or No Name McCain.
This is bigger than Fast and Furious.
It really is. I mean, the two of us explain it the way we are doesn't truly do it justice. But to know that Adam Schiff, our national security, whatever, intelligence director, whatever he thinks he is, sitting up there, that he's sitting there having an arms deal with a gentleman who supplies ISIS, and they're going to $2 million parties together, raising money for each other. Mm-hmm. Okay? So illegal weapons, Adam. All right? What else you got going on, Shifty Schiff, that you're attacking our president about because you don't want him in Ukraine? Also, where that where the Democratic server is, as you saw last week on the show, where Donna Brazil,
correct,
You know what I never brought up about Donna Brazile? How she gave Hillary the questions before the debate.
Yep. Yeah, that was pretty shady because she was already. I had her, T's crossed her I's dotted already, But you know what? President Trump, man, prevailed again,
Collusion. That's collusion and election interference.
What else I'd like to talk about, Adam Schiff? There's supposed to be a 19-year-old migrant who is filing sexual assault charges against
in
Adam
2013
Schiff.
or something like that.
Yeah, and then, you know what? And he's using the money from Congress, which is like a slush fund.
Yep, not icy, not Slurpee.
Yep, slushy. So he's taking money, our tax dollars to protect his ass. And so this is only one young man that came forward. How many more are out there that this pedophile, and that's what you are, Schiff. You're just scary, man. Really. You get out there and talk smack about my president. You do a parody about what he said. It was all lies. And you know what? You should be going to jail for treason.
But we're gonna keep giving him rope. The more he talks, the more he can't get out the trap.
Yep.
So now let's talk about Pelosi's power play.
Pat Brown's father, Edmund Joseph Brown, was known for running scams and gambling operations in San Francisco. With the help of businessman William Newsom II, Pat Brown became governor of California for 2 terms. During his governorship, he awarded the Squaw Valley concession contract to William Newsom III and his partner, John Pelosi. The deal was criticized for the state of California paying for everything and getting nothing. William Newsom III grew up with the governor's son, Jerry, who was training to be a Jesuit priest. John Pelosi's son, Paul, married Nancy D'Alessandro, daughter of Thomas D'Alessandro Jr., who was known for smuggling heroin into the U.S. with Lucky Luciano and the Baltimore Mafia. John Pelosi's son, Ron, married William Newsom's daughter, Barbara. Over ongoing disputes about the Squaw Valley concession, William Newsom Sr. threatened to hurt the governor politically, just as Governor Brown was running for a 3rd term against Ronald Reagan. He lost. But 8 years later, the former governor's Jesuit son, Jerry, reclaimed the governorship in 1974. He appointed William Newsom III to a Placer County judgeship in 1975, and 3 years later to the State Court of Appeal. William Newsom was an attorney for oil magnate J. Paul Getty, named in the 1966 Guinness Book of World Records as the world's richest private citizen. And while serving on the appellate bench in the 1980s, he helped Getty's son, Gordon, secure a change in state trust law that allowed him to claim his share of a multi-heir trust. After Newsom retired from the bench, he became administrator of the Getty Trust and provided seed money for his son Gavin Newsom, Nancy Pelosi's nephew, to start the plump jack business that led to a career in San Francisco politics as mayor of San Francisco and lieutenant governor of the state of California. Gavin Newsom was informally adopted by the Gettys after his parents divorced, and recently succeeded family friend Jerry Brown to be the current governor of California. For 80 years, these 4 families have ruled over the state of California politically. And with the help of Kamala Harris, Maxine Waters, Adam Schiff, and Dianne Feinstein, California's uncontrollable state government spending has amounted to over $2 trillion in debt and the highest tax rates in the country. The homelessness population is on the rise so much that a typhus outbreak has reached epidemic levels. Thousands of needles from illicit drugs litter the streets. They have made California a sanctuary state. They have been steadily chiseling away at the Second Amendment. They have passed laws for mandatory vaccinations. and they continue to aggressively oppose our president on every front. On October 1st, 2016, right before Donald Trump won the election, President Obama transferred full control of the internet from the U.S. government to an independent California nonprofit organization. In a cyber war scenario, the U.S. government may not have control over the internet. Even if it secures military and government domains and IP addresses, the targets in cyber warfare are likely to be civilian, and the U.S. government requires private sector infrastructure to operate. Since the internet underpins our computer systems, electrical grids, communication systems, and other critical infrastructure, our entire civilian society could be at risk. Who controls California? Who controls the four families? What is a republic? For NewsWars.com, this is Greg Reese.
I know this drove you mad when I first explained this to you, the thorough, like, you know what I mean?
Yep.
Okay, so Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi's out there, and she, once again, didn't read the summary, but came out and said that we're still going to impeach. We're going to start an impeachment inquiry. So all the American people here, oh, they're impeaching Donald Trump. They're impeaching Donald Trump. But as a political person who knows a little thing about politics, is an inquiry the same thing as an impeachment? It's not.
No.
An inquiry. They're just inquiring.
And then they're inquiring. There's no hard evidence. There's nothing. Zero to put this president under an impeachment trial.
But it's all about Ukraine. See, as I was explaining to you, to other viewers that were sitting in the audience over here before, Nancy's a little party girl and hangs with a party girl in Ukraine. So Adam Shifty Shift is caught up with an arms dealer in Ukraine.
Party girl.
Well, for Nancy, but hey, she's still an all right looking woman. And, you know, I mean, I got to give Nancy, like, if you put Nancy next to Maxine Waters, Nancy, you're all right.
Yeah.
All right, Maxine, yeah, I don't know about you. So now on top of that, she's hanging with this party girl. Now this party girl.
You think Nancy wears a triple wire bra?
So this party girl hangs out in the disco district of the Ukraine, has a very lavish house, is into the ecstasy and other drugs that go on in the underworld market. So the black market that you see in some of those Euro movies where, I don't know, Jason Statham or whoever got to go overseas. There's always in the clubs and everybody's all doped up and got drugs and everything. Well, Nancy Pelosi, this young lady I'm showing you on the screen is Nancy Pelosi's assistant and secretary in the Ukraine for U.S. aid. U.S. aid while Nancy is there. This girl that's caught up in all types of bad things over in the Ukraine.
Yep.
She's been to the United States, she's been to the White House, she's been to Congress, she's been all kind of other places. And Nancy, part of her power play is, so you were saying, well, Jazz, you got to remember, if they do impeach President Trump, I said, well, yeah, we got Mike Pence, so we didn't really got nothing to worry about. Mike Pence is a solid guy. And you said, well, they could have something. They could just dig up. If they make up any kind of dirt.
And they would. I mean, you know, Mike Pence, man, he's almost like next to Jesus. Man.
Because you heard Green say, we have to impeach him because the people might reelect him.
That's right. And that's right. Oh, man, that was great, too, what we had on there.
Okay.
But who's after Pence?
So if Donald Trump is out, if Mike Pence is out, that leaves the Speaker of the House.
Nancy Pelosi.
So if you're watching any CSI and they walk in and there's a murder, they want to know who has motive. Who had the motive to do this person in? Who had just cause to want to see this person taken out, taken down, crushed? Who would be president?
Yeah, because Nancy Pelosi, man, she's just, you know, salivating through her false teeth to
keep going though, bro. Because there's another
be the president, you know.
So you know how that would be the frosting on the cake for the Democratic Party. Okay, they got rid of Trump, so that's the cake. Nancy Pelosi would be the first woman president. That's the frosting on the cake. Well, here's the cherry on top with some sprinkles and whatever else you'd like to put on the side from Cake Boss. It is totally possible that Hillary Clinton's thinking about coming back to the Democratic Party now that Bernie is out. They're looking at Biden being out because of his corruption. Bernie's out because of a medical situation due to stents in his heart. Could you imagine a Hillary Warren ticket is what they're trying to set up? Not saying imagine like we got something to worry about. We have nothing to worry about. But could you imagine a Hillary Warren ticket?
Well, you know what? I'll tell you, there's so much stuff that's going to come out about Hillary, you know.
Well, right, but what they still have to prop somebody up as a Democratic.
Yeah.
See, by the time it gets to Hillary, right now we're talking about Biden, and we're going to find out about SCHIFF and the arms dealer more. We're going to find out about Pelosi and the party girl stuff more. We're going to find out about how we didn't sell our own energy so these people could profit off of Ukraine's energy.
Yeah, there's another thing I was thinking about. One other person that may jump into the race. What's his name? The head of, who owns the Buffalo News? Warren Buffett.
Buffett, okay.
Yeah. Don't trust him either.
Oh no, see, we don't have to trust anybody. We got this. The president's not going to be impeached. I'm just laying out to people. I'm giving you some hood logic if you want. If this was the hood, y'all would have to think about it like that, because these people are your parents, right? Mm-hmm. Like, so people always complain about their parents. Mm-hmm. My parents raised me wrong. So let's say you're under 40 years old. Okay, well, Joe Biden's been in about 40 years. Pelosi's been in 32. Schumer and Waters been in 28. Mm-hmm. So politically, these people and some of the others you look at on TV every day,
they were like the parents of our country.
Right. So even when your parents complained about something while you were a little kid playing with your Barbie dolls or whatever it was you were doing, while you were a little kid hearing your parents complain about this country, they're complaining about the Chuck Schumers, the Cuomos, you know, those folks.
Yeah, Warren.
Right, Biden, because they've been in politics forever. I just want to get back to the part where I was saying, these are your parents. Yeah. So your parents, as your parents bitched about the government and you heard about it, those same people are raising you folks. Mm-hmm. So for 40 years, these people have been in office. Donald Trump has been in for 3. So to listen to these 40-year, 50-year politicians complain about somebody who's been in for 3 years, mm-hmm. Well, that's like you telling your friends how bad your parents raised you. And as soon as your friend agrees with you, yeah, your parents did raise you wrong, you go off on your friend. Why would you go off on your friend? The president is explaining to you how the Democrats raised you wrong, how they snookered you, how they hoodwinked you, how they took advantage of you. The same bailout that we gave the banks, we wouldn't have to give the banks if Barack Obama was selling our gas instead of Burisma's gas.
Correct.
We would have had enough money from our own energy to bail ourselves out if they weren't selling Burisma's gas, so him, Mitt Romney, and the other people you named.
And I bet you there's more rhinos, but it's a big vicious circle, and he is draining the swamp, not only nationally, but I think worldwide. Trump is going to drain the swamp.
Yep.
You know?
And Joe Biden, innocence is easy to prove. So no one's trying to take you out. See, you said
had gotten a commitment from Poroshenko they would take action against the state prosecutor, and they didn't. I said, I'm telling you, you're not getting $1 billion. I said, you're not getting $1 billion. I'm going to be leaving here, and I think it was, 6 hours? I looked, I said, I'm leaving in 6 hours. If the prosecutor's not fired, you're not getting the money. Oh, son of a got fired. And they put in place someone who was solid at the time.
Well, it just so happens that the general prosecutor was investigating an energy firm in which Joe Biden's son, Hunter Biden, was heavily invested. Burisma Holdings is an energy corporation in Ukraine, and Hunter Biden, the son of the former vice president, has made a rather handsome profit from it, especially in the aftermath of the 2014 events in Ukraine in which pro-EU forces took power. That prosecutor was looking into 3 different instances of foul play from Hunter's cash cow. However, all it took was a phone call from Papa Joe, and that prosecutor was out.
We had plans that included interrogations and other crime investigation procedures into all members of the executive board, including Hunter Biden.
Members of the board obtained funds as well as another US-based legal entity, Rosemont Seneca Partners, LLC, for consulting services.
One might argue that perhaps Joe Biden had no idea about his son's financial interests. They say he's the vice president. Perhaps he was too busy running the country to pay attention to his son's finances. However, if he watched any American media, he couldn't have missed it. During the Ukraine events of 2014, the White House dismissed any notion that Hunter Biden's financial dealings had any impact on their decisions.
I'm wondering if the State Department has any concerns or any thoughts about the Vice President's son joining the board of directors of this Ukrainian gas company.
No, he's a private citizen.
So, as reels and reels of video show that Joe Biden has some pretty strange proclivities, and more women come forward saying they do not appreciate his affection, at this point it's pretty clear that Joe has some even stranger skeletons in his closet that he would like to keep buried.
That you would take the president behind the gym of the high school.
Yeah, and take him out. Yeah.
You said...
Should be looking at Trump. Trump's doing this because he knows I'll beat him like a drum.
He's afraid of you because you could beat him like a drum. Yeah. All right, so I've watched politics a long time. You've been involved in politics. Rick, what's vetting?
Yeah, vetting. Yeah, looking up dirt against someone.
Okay, so when you're running in politics against somebody, you and I are running against each other, it's basically our job or our staff's job to find out everything about you.
Right, right.
And to use some of the positive, like point out some of your positive qualities, but really throw out what?
The negatives.
Okay, so if this is in your past, Biden, the president isn't attacking you like you're his political opponent. This is what he's supposed to do. You should be running your Democratic race and leave the president's name out of your mouth until you reach the point where you're going up against the president one-on-one. Until you go up against him one-on-one, just stick to the Beto's and stick to the Buttigiegs and stick to the Kamala Harrises. Talk about them. Leave the president out of it, and he won't have to dig up dirt on you prematurely.
It's just like Elizabeth Warren. It's just a narrative that what you call it, Biden is saying he's going to take out and beat up President Trump. You know what? That's aggression, man. That's actually, he's talking real fist fighting
Physical.
stuff.
Yep.
And you know what? The president doesn't have to do that. He doesn't have to raise one finger or clench his fist once because he's going to beat you down with this.
I know that Joe Biden has lied twice about talking to his son about his business dealings. And the picture, look at the photograph with Devin Archer, who was the Burisma official. He visited the Obama White House at least twice. We know now. I'd like to know what he talked about there. Also, when the Obama-Biden people installed their hand-picked investigators over in Ukraine after the revolution, they pressured the Ukrainians to investigate Paul Manafort. And as a matter of fact, the DNC paid one of their contractors $70,000 to work with the Ukrainian embassy to get dirt on Manafort. And who did they link that deep state dirt to? Michael Isikoff. And that guy was the same guy who was the recipient of the Christopher Steele fake dossier. And that's how it got pushed into the bloodstream. Also, interestingly enough, the Wall Street Journal has a little rundown on the Clinton Foundation. It turns out the Ukrainians gave the most top dollar donations to the Clinton Foundation over the years, $10 million. You know, there's just a lot of stuff that we're looking at here, and that is why the Democrats are so nervous about this, because Trump is finally dialing in on the corruption and the collusion of the last administration.
His mind is his 9. That's what I tell people about me. Hey, man, my mind is my 9. I don't need a gun. So we're about to wrap up the whole show, Rick.
Sure. So earlier today, Mr. Donald J. Trump, aka Mr. Poopy Pants, he sends me a coffee mug with a note that says, "No hard feelings, nothing." Well, this joke is on you, Mr. Poopy Pants, because I am enjoying a nice cup of coffee.
Gosh, guys, so today, Not My President Donald Trump sent me a gift and a card, and it took me about 30 minutes and Siri to help me understand what the card read, but it said, "No hard feelings." Well, you know what, sir? The joke is on you because your gift is a coffee mug, and I happen to love coffee. And right now, I'm pouring hot water into this coffee mug, and I am just laughing at you because you know what? You're scared. That's why you sent me this note, and that's why you sent me this coffee mug. You're scared, but too late. You're gonna get impeached.
Oh, I get it. So you put the hot water in the coffee cup and it changes colors. Whoa, blew my mind. I thought I was either drunk or stoned.
All right. So, Rick, anything else you want to say before we go?
No, all I want to say is, you know, like we were saying, Veterans Day is coming up. I was in the Army, and I wanted to say the Wounded Warriors Project. And if there's anything that you want to donate to, that's it. Those men and women fought for just to stay alive. Whether what they were fighting for, what they told they were fighting for, it was all over oil. It was over all these big shots all over the world.
Oh yeah. Well, now we're selling our own oil.
Yeah. Now
we don't have to protect no other foreign bases or have our boots on foreign soil for their elements. I just want to reiterate something, make sure with Joe Biden. So like I said, innocence is easy to prove. But it seems like you're complaining that the president is bringing up something like it's a false allegation. So are you saying, Joe, that making a false allegation about somebody could harm their political career? Like Russian collusion for 3 years?
Any collusion is on you, Biden.
Anything you guys did, you tried to do it to dismantle our president and make him look bad around the world. On next week's show, I'm going to have at least 6 questions that if any of you people ever run into your local politician, you're going to want to ask them. So stay tuned next week's show. At least 6 questions that when you run across your local politician, you're going to want to ask them these questions. Yeah. Thejazmiles, Rick Donovan, Wake Up America.
Wake Up America.
Next week. Until next time, peace.
Take on the intelligence community. They have 6 ways from Sunday to getting back at you, getting back at you, getting back at you, getting back at you.
This is one of the few impeachment inquiries in the history of our country. It goes to the core of whether the president abused his office to seek political help in his re-election campaign, and did so to the detriment of our nation's security.
A poll that just came out where I'm up massively with independent voters. I don't know if it's this or because of the hoax, that's going on with Nancy Pelosi and her friend Adam Schiff. He's another beauty.
Did so by effectively coercing a country that has been invaded by Russia to investigate a rival and condition the relationship between this country and that country on whether they were willing to play ball. That is the gravamen of the issues that we are investigating, that this impeachment inquiry is looking into. It is hard to imagine a set of facts more damaging to our national security and our standing in the world, but also more of a fundamental breach of the president's oath of office. The American people have the right to know if the president is acting in their interests, in the nation's interests, with an eye towards our national security, and not in his narrow personal political interests. They have a right to know. Indeed, the American people have a need to know, and through this impeachment inquiry, we are determined to find the answers. Thank you.
It's based on the unfair and partisan process that Mr. Schiff has been running. When you think about what the Democrats are trying to do, impeach the President of the United States 13 months prior to an election based on an anonymous whistleblower with no first-hand knowledge who has a bias against the President. And the guy running the process, Chairman Schiff, didn't even tell us that he had met with the whistleblower prior to the whistleblower filing the complaint. Adam Schiff didn't tell us that the way he treated Ambassador Sondland last week in this, Ambassador Volker in this interview last week, that treatment is the reason why the administration and the State Department said we're not going to subject Ambassador Sondland to the same treatment. And look, we were actually looking forward to hearing from Ambassador Sondland. We thought he was going to reinforce exactly what Ambassador Volker told us last week. But again, unfortunately, when you have a Speaker of the House who says we need to strike while the iron's hot, when you have a chairman of the committee who is so biased against this president that he wouldn't even tell us that he had met with his staff, had met with the whistleblower prior to the whistleblower filing the complaint. And frankly, this is a pattern with Mr. Schiff. He did the same thing, if you remember, the first big hearing the Democrats did this Congress, Michael Cohen. He didn't tell us that his staff had met with Mr. Cohen 4 hours prior to Mr. Cohen testifying. He didn't tell us that last summer he had met with Mr. Simpson out in Colorado, palling around with the guy with Fusion GPS. So this is a pattern. Like I said, we were hoping to hear from the ambassador today, but we understand exactly why the administration, exactly why the State Department has chosen to say, look, if it's going to be this kind of process, if you're going to selectively leak text messages, 67 pages of text messages we had, they take a handful and release to all of you, and not give the full context and not release the transcript, we understand why they made this decision at this moment.
Transparency? There's an argument. No, hold on a second. There's an argument in favor of cherry-picking selective releases of texts. There's an argument in favor of only telling the American public what is best in the interests of wanting to take down a sitting president. Maybe you should ask what was said inside of Volker's deposition during his transcribed interview with regards to Adam Schiff's fairy tale quid pro quo charge that aid from the United States to Ukraine was being linked to an investigation into the Bidens. Why don't you ask, what did Ambassador Volker say about that? That's a great question. I'm glad that you asked that question. And I'll tell you the reason why that question was so important for you to ask is for many things, because he was in this room for several hours. And during several hours of testimony, he talked about how President Zelensky had no idea that there was a hold-on aid at the time of the July 25th call. Ambassador Volker testified about how the readouts of the phone call that was made to him, that there was nothing in the readouts about there being a hold on U.S. aid or a quid pro quo. Or Ambassador Volker testified, this is what the transcribed interview would tell you if you asked this question. I'm glad that we're having this discussion. The next day, Ambassador Volker meets with President Zelensky. And in that meeting, there is no reference to a quid pro quo or President Zelensky having any idea that there was a hold on aid. Or, over the course of Ambassador Volker's next several weeks engaging with Ukraine, Ukraine makes no reference to there being a hold on aid or there being a quid pro quo. And by the way, you know what else Ambassador Volker testified to? This entire time, the aid was getting released. It was going to get released. And guess what happened? The aid got released. And you know what didn't have to happen? There was no new investigation to have to get created. This whole thing is a fairy tale. Adam Schiff is misleading you, and you're playing along with it. Many of you are, and the American public is then getting deceived. When Adam Schiff said, for example, that President Trump was asking President Zelensky to manufacture dirt on the Bidens, you know what Ambassador Volker testified to? That was absolutely untrue. Now that's what we would call an inconvenient fact for the narrative. You know what else Adam Schiff has been saying to you and the American public that was not true? That he had no contact with the whistleblower. He'd like to, but he didn't have any contact. He lied. You know what else he lied about? When he gave his opening statement from the acting director of national intelligence as to what was in front of the world as far as what the transcribed interview said. Now going back to Ambassador Volker's transcribed interview and a process, we were here ready to do our part. If anyone is going to testify behind those closed doors, we're going to make sure that we're there to ensure that the other 99% of the story is being told. Because guess what? If we weren't there last Thursday, you would have no idea of everything that Ambassador Volker said to obliterate Adam Schiff's fairy tale quid pro quo charge. You would have no idea. So we're here. Now, as far as the administration goes, if they don't want to send Ambassador Sondland here, because this is a kangaroo court, because there has not been a vote to launch an impeachment inquiry, because the minority does not have any rights for subpoenas, because the president doesn't have the right to have counsel present to ask questions, for subpoena power, to present evidence. This entire thing is a political charade, is a clown show. We're here, we're ready for whoever's going to be testifying in the other room, but we have to be here, because if we're not, Adam Schiff sure as heck is not going to tell you. Because all he has to do is right now release that transcribed interview. Because he won't, because it destroys his narrative. It undercuts it, it blows it up. That's what we heard over the course of several hours. And by the way, Jerry Connolly comes on to, Aaron Burnett's show on CNN at 7 o'clock on Thursday, and they have a back and forth. They play a clip from Jim Jordan, they play a clip from me, where they're basically saying, Jerry Connolly, you didn't hear anything of what Jim Jordan and Lee Zeldin says that they heard, right? And they have this back and forth, basically dumbing down their audience. And what isn't pointed out in that back and forth is that Jerry Connolly was the last person to show up. He's the first one to leave instantly. He wasn't there for any of it. So what's important is that we are here, and we can answer any question you want as far as what Ambassador Volker testified to, credibly, exceptionally, professionally. But you're not asking any of the most important questions. Some of you are. But many of you aren't asking the most important questions, such as, what did you hear last Thursday that we don't yet know about? Adam Schiff won't answer it, but he should. He should release the transcript. One other thing that's really important to point out is that another show put up on Sunday, one of the texts from from Bill Taylor. That show then did not follow that text with the response that absolutely says unequivocally that there is no quid pro quo. Furthermore, what that show did not say after that is the context from Ambassador Volker's transcript with regards to Bill Taylor's text. And you would then know if we all had the transcribed interview in front of us, but we'll tell you now, it's been out there in the public. He said it because he read a Politico story. And he wanted to get the aid to Ukraine released. He saw a Politico story and he was concerned, and then he was corrected. But why is it that the coverage is only going to show Bill Taylor's text and not show the response correcting it and not provide any context whatsoever? You know why I'm pissed as I stand here? Because right now, this Congress, our country, all across the entire country, there are people watching this who are disgusted with how 2019 has gone. That all of their priorities right now, why are we not working together to pass USMCA next week? We know that it'll grow jobs, increase investment in the United States, that it would increase GDP. Why are we not talking about USMCA? Why aren't we working on a bipartisan basis to lower prescription drug costs? Why are we not working together on a bipartisan process in order to pass all these different priorities that are really important to our constituents, Republicans and Democrats, conservatives, liberals? It's all to appease an enraged liberal activist base, insisting on resisting, impeaching, opposing, and obstructing everything and anything. We are all, as a country, being held hostage by a few members of Congress who have leveraged congressional primaries against Democratic leadership and committee chairs. They've instilled fear on the part of their colleagues in their own conference, and them and their activist base is preventing us from standing here for all of us to be able to spend 100% of our energy working together in order to pass bipartisan important priorities for our country. So if we sound like we're pissed as we stand here, it's because we are. The American people are getting screwed by an enraged liberal activist base demanding impeachment. They don't even care what the crime is. They don't care what the facts are. They don't care what the evidence is. I think it's also important to point out that you all know, the American public all knows now more than the whistleblower does. So this whole thing about what does the whistleblower know? We're telling you, they now know less than what you all know. So we should be talking about what we know now and how to go forward. Talking about kangaroo court, you know what else Jim Jordan pointed out when we were here a few days ago? Was how when we showed up on Thursday, Adam Schiff started by the ground rules was that this was going to be a staff-led transcribed interview. And it wasn't until Jim Jordan pushed back that Adam Schiff reluctantly said that he would allow members to ask questions. But it was discouraged. He was strongly discouraging members to ask questions. And by the way,
until it went so bad for Adam Schiff that he jumped in for 25 minutes and voices cracking when they start to look at this. Why? Because Ambassador Volker was not giving them the answers that they were leading Ambassador Volker to conclude. I can tell you that this is nothing more than, Adam Schiff talked about 4 acts. You know what? There are 4 acts. And the first, second, third, and fourth act already has reached a conclusion for Adam Schiff. Let the American people decide what the final act will be, because ultimately, when the truth comes out, you will see that this president did not hold aid to try to influence a foreign country to do anything.
Well, first of all, the impeachment inquiry is a scam. The conversation that I had with the Ukrainian President Zelensky was a very good it was a very cordial, very good conversation. The mistake they made, the opponents, the opposition, the Democrats, the radical left, deep state, whatever you want to call it, they came out with a whistleblower report before they saw the conversation. Had they waited one day, Nancy Pelosi wouldn't have made a fool out of herself, and she would have been able to say what I said, because when she saw it, she said, this is not what the whistleblower said. I had a very, very congenial, nice conversation with a man that I like, and he ran on corruption. Because, as you know, Ukraine is known as a very corrupt country, one of the most in the world, shockingly, because I know Ukrainian people, it's surprising to me, but it's known as one of the most corrupt countries. And under the past leadership, it was having a lot of difficulty. This gentleman, the current president, the new president, ran on the basis of anti-corruption. As you know, I think it was his single biggest thing. And we had a great conversation, but it wasn't reported that way. The